The conflict stretching across the Middle East has entered a dangerous new phase. What began as a direct confrontation between the United States, Israel, and Iran has now expanded into a multi-front regional war involving several allied groups, often described collectively as a resistance axis. At the center of this latest escalation is Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthi movement. For weeks, the group had issued warnings that it would not remain on the sidelines if attacks on Iran and its regional allies continued. Now those warnings have turned into action. According to multiple confirmed reports, Houthi forces launched a ballistic missile toward Israel, marking their first direct strike in the ongoing war. The missile was intercepted, but the symbolic significance of the attack is far greater than its immediate military impact. It signals a broader coalition now actively participating in the conflict. In their official statement, the Yemeni armed forces framed the attack as part of a coordinated regional response. Our operations with the help of Allah will continue until the declared objectives are achieved and until the aggression stops on all fronts of the resistance, the Yemeni armed forces said. The message was clear. Yemen is no longer a peripheral player. It is now fully engaged. The Houthis' announcement was not made in isolation. It explicitly tied their actions to simultaneous operations by Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon. This reflects a broader strategic alignment across multiple groups operating in different countries, but sharing a common objective: resisting U.S. and Israeli military pressure. The spokesperson described the strike as targeting sensitive military objectives in southern Israel, aligning it with what he called heroic operations by allied forces. This coordination underscores a key shift in the nature of the conflict. What was once seen as a bilateral or trilateral confrontation is now increasingly resembling a regional war network, one where multiple actors can engage at once, complicating military calculations. Recent intelligence and battlefield developments support this view. Iran has continued launching missiles and drones across the region, striking targets in Israel and Gulf countries, while Hezbollah has intensified activity in Lebanon. At the same time, U.S. forces have expanded their military presence in the region, deploying additional troops and assets as the situation escalates. Another critical development shaping the conflict is the leadership transition in Iran. Following a major U.S.-Israeli strike earlier in 2026, Iran's longtime supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed. He has since been succeeded by his son, Mojtaba Khamenei, who is widely viewed as a hardline figure. This transition has intensified tensions rather than calming them. The new leadership has maintained Iran's aggressive posture, continuing missile strikes and supporting allied groups across the region. The leadership change also contradicts some of the more extreme claims circulating in political rhetoric. While Iran has suffered heavy losses, it remains operational, retains significant military capability, and continues to coordinate attacks through its regional allies. Throughout the conflict, U.S. President Donald Trump has maintained a highly assertive and often controversial tone in describing American military operations. In public remarks, he has repeatedly emphasized the scale and effectiveness of U.S. strikes against Iran, portraying them as decisive and overwhelming. Reflecting on past actions, he referenced the killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, describing it as a pivotal moment in U.S. policy toward Iran. He was a vicious, horrible human being, but he was a great general, very powerful leader, Donald Trump said. He also sharply criticized previous administrations' approach to Iran, particularly the nuclear agreement negotiated under President Barack Obama. As president of the United States, I would never allow the world's #1 state sponsor of terror to obtain a nuclear weapon, Donald Trump said. Trump has framed the current campaign as both a military and strategic success, claiming it has reshaped the balance of power in the region. We saved the Middle East. We saved not just Israel. We saved the Middle East, Donald Trump said. However, intelligence assessments and independent reporting suggest a more complex reality. Despite extensive U.S. and Israeli strikes, Iran retains a substantial portion of its missile arsenal. Estimates indicate that only about 1/3 of Iran's missile and drone capabilities have been destroyed, with many systems hidden or relocated underground. This gap between political messaging and battlefield reality highlights a recurring theme in the conflict. Both sides are projecting strength, even as the war continues without a decisive outcome. Trump has continued to insist that Iran is on the brink of collapse. We're crushing Irans. They don't know what's happening, Donald Trump said. He also claimed that Iran is seeking negotiations under pressure. They're begging to make a deal, Donald Trump said. Yet official reports indicate that while diplomatic channels exist, often mediated by third countries, no comprehensive agreement has been reached. One of the most critical strategic elements in the conflict is the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway through which a significant portion of the world's oil supply passes. Iran has effectively restricted access to the strait, disrupting global energy markets and raising fears of a broader economic crisis. Trump has made reopening the strait a central demand in negotiations, even setting deadlines for Iran to comply. At the same time, the U.S. has considered military options to secure the waterway, including potential ground operations and escalation that could dramatically widen the war. The entry of Yemen's Houthi forces into the conflict is particularly significant because it opens another front, one that directly threatens shipping routes in the Red Sea. The Houthis have previously targeted commercial vessels in the region, and their renewed involvement raises concerns about disruptions to global trade. Their latest statement makes clear that this is only the beginning. The Yemeni armed forces have carried out their first military operation, the spokesman said. By framing the attack as the first, the group signaled that further strikes are likely. As the conflict moves forward, it is increasingly defined not by rapid victories, but by endurance. Both sides have demonstrated the ability to absorb damage and continue fighting. Iran's decentralized missile infrastructure and network of allied groups provide resilience, while the U.S. and Israel maintain overwhelming technological and military superiority. The result is a grinding, prolonged conflict with no clear endpoint. Despite confident statements from political leaders, the situation remains highly volatile. Trump himself acknowledged the intensity of the campaign, even as he framed it as successful. It was violence, actually, really violence, Donald Trump said. The Middle East now stands at a critical crossroads. Yemen's entry into the conflict has transformed what was already a dangerous confrontation into a truly regional war. Iran's leadership transition has hardened positions rather than opening paths to compromise, and the gap between political rhetoric and battlefield realities continues to complicate efforts to understand the true state of the war. For now, the message from all sides is consistent. The fight is far from over. Our operations will continue until the aggression stops, the Yemeni armed forces said. That single line captures the trajectory of the conflict, a war driven not just by immediate military objectives, but by deeper political and ideological commitments that show little sign of fading.